This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions.
Hi, this is Joe Rabil. So what I want to talk about today is the difference between being a mastery trader versus an ego trader. All right. This is a big difference, and I think it's going to make a huge difference in your results. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now, if you want to learn some more about some of these technical the techniques that I use, you can start with my book. It's at rabilstockresearch.com/book. Also, I have actually put the link, you can click the link in the description below as well. Also, if you do enjoy this content, please hit the like button and also subscribe. Okay, so I really want to talk about the idea behind mastery versus ego. Okay, if anyone watches golf at all or has followed Scotty Scheffler, who has been doing exceptionally well, he is the epitome of a golfer who is focused on mastery versus ego. All right, if you listen to his press conferences, he's all about process, preparation, and totally focused on competing. He's not worried about whether he's winning or not, whether he's number one in the world or anything like that. He is totally focused on doing what he needs to do to prepare, and then following the process while he's in the moment. He stays in the moment. All right. When you're trading, you want to go through this same approach. All right. And mastery, what mastery means to me is that I am trying to get better every day. All right. After all these years, I'm still focused on trying to improve as a trader. All right. Every day. And that means I'm less focused on whether I'm getting a win or a loss on the next trade. I'm a lot more focused on, am I following my plan? If I follow my plan and I go through my process, then the results they're gonna speak for themselves when it's all said and done. All right. If I'm an ego guy, I'm basically trying to get a win so I can go tell my friends that I had a monster win in the market. Right. And I know a lot of people like that. I used to be like that years and years and years ago when I was first starting out. I really kind of wanted to show everyone how good I was. And you get a big win and you'd brag about it. Right. And I'm sure you've come across a lot of people like that. What you really want to do is stay completely focused on your process and really have the ability to not even worry about what other people are doing, what they're thinking, what they think of you, and stay completely focused on the fact that you are doing your work, you're following your plan, you're making sure on a weekly basis you go through the process that you need to go through to be successful. All right. And you can't cut corners with that. You have to do the work. All right. If you do the proper preparation, just like Scotty Scheffler, then when it comes to game time, when you have a trade on, you don't have to be all that hyper focused and all that nervous or anxious about every single trade. We know that it takes 20 to 30 trades to give you a sense of whether you know what you're doing. You can't do it in a single trade. You can't base all of your performance or whether you know what you're doing or not based on one single trade. So you have to understand that it's a series of trades that makes you successful. And if you think that way, then you can be successful in a different way. You can say, all right, I am going to be successful. I'm going to take yes trades only, and I'm going to avoid no trades. A yes trade is it meets all my criteria. And when I go through the process of putting on the trade, taking targets, following it with a trailing stop, and then getting taken out of the trade, I have followed my plan to a T. All right. A no trade is where you jump the gun, you put on a trade even though you know you shouldn't be doing it, or you stop yourself out of a trade or just exit indiscriminately because you're not sure about what's taking place in the market and you're getting scared out. It's all about anxiety that because you haven't done the prep work or you don't have enough trade, you haven't done enough trading, or you're trading with too much size. I mean, these are all little things. Now, I put out a questionnaire when I work with someone one-on-one. I give them a questionnaire that basically they have to go through and answer all of these questions to make sure that they have a really good idea of their trading plan. And then once you have the trading plan in place, you're going to tweak it over time. So just as an example, maybe a month or two ago, I came out and talked about the international funds. And you can see this UAE is one of the beautiful chart. It had, look at the way this played out with this monster base here and so it was a really nice base with a low ADX condition on the monthly. All right. And then on the weekly, it also had a low ADX condition in place. Right. So we've got both of those in place, and then we get the breakout bar on a gap up here. All right. And that's basically the kickoff move. Now, since that time and leading up to the breakout, we've had 3 RSI buy signals. All right. Now, in my course, I go through all the details of that, of those buy signals. And I've done a number of videos on that as well. And then the low ADX breakout pattern. But when I looked at this, I was doing it from a longer term standpoint. All right. So in my plan for this specific instrument, I knew that I had to live with a little bit deeper pullbacks and not necessarily abide by how I would typically trade an individual stock, because I was looking at it from an individual standpoint, and I wanted to make sure that I was, when I put a trade on like this, I'm doing it for my 401k. I'm putting it on longer term. I'm not going to get whipped around. I'm going to give it more room. I'm going to almost look at it as a monthly trade rather than a weekly trade. And it's very rare that I would do something like this. But under the circumstances, I just felt like it was the right thing to do. Right. So you have to know that. And then, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to pat myself on the back or anything. Most people who know me know that I don't do that. I'm really, this is a very humbling game. You have to accept the fact that you're going to be right. You're going to be wrong. You don't really want to go around bragging about your winners or anything. What I want you to learn from this is that I had to accept the fact in the trade like this that I was going to take some drawdowns along the way. Because if I used my 2 times ATR, I would have been stopped out of this. I wouldn't have been able to make it. And in fact, by the time it broke out, it actually went below where I entered, because I bought after the breakout, right? So in a situation like this, you have to be completely committed to your trade. If you're not committed to your trade, now I know most people are going to trade off the weekly and use the daily to stop themselves out, and I'm totally fine with that. And I'm good. But you also are going to have situations where you have a plan in place, and you've got to accept maybe a little bit more risk, or you have to abide by your stop. You've got a great looking pattern on the weekly, and then the daily has a little bit too much volatility, and now you have to be stopped out, and you have to take that stop. If that's in your plan, you have to take it, okay? So just to give you a different example of something like ZCAL. ZCAL was so unique in the way this played out. It was so tight on both time frames, all right? Very similar pattern to the UAE, really. We have low ADX right before the breakout, all right? Now, in this situation, abiding by all the rules, you probably are still waiting for a pullback. I think you could have done it off the daily chart. There was enough of a signal. But the way I look at it is, I was looking at this relative to everything else that was out there at the time. And I'm like, this looks so much better than anything else that's out there. The basis is just massive. And sometimes you have to just accept that you take a pattern like this where maybe, I'd like to have the green holding prior to the breakout, but everything else looks so good about this. And I know that sometimes these things will just take off. All right. Now, the market conditions do play a role in that. And the fact is that there was an improving market condition taking place as this was getting ready to break out. And again, low ADX here, low ADX here. So I know my potential upside is pretty significant. All right. Now, because I know there's significant upside, you can fall into the trap of saying, I'm not going to take a target. I'm just going to let this ride because I think this is going to go up for a couple years. Now, the question becomes, was that in your plan? If that wasn't in your plan, then you're that's a no trade. That's a no trade, not a yes trade, even though you're making a lot of money. So, I even though I kind of, I take this trade, I like what's going on with this, even though I think there's significant upside. Yeah, I'm taking targets along the way. I'm taking my targets. I'm moving my trailing stop. I am doing that, and I'm trying to catch a big win, but I'm going to abide by my trading plan. I'm going to follow the techniques that I use when I buy a stock, and I'm not going to get too caught up in how much money I'm going to make, right? That's the Scotty Scheffler. This is all about mastery. So if you're thinking about mastery and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to follow what I'm supposed to be doing. I did my prep work. I look at enough tech stocks, and all of a sudden I see this breaking out of this huge base with big volume. And I know that because it has low ADX on 2 time frames, if it gets going, there's probably going to be substantial upside. Now, I know taking a trade like this without maybe the perfect signal, that you set yourself up to potentially get stopped out. But I'm willing to do that every now and again in certain circumstances, recognizing that if I get stopped out, I will take the next setup. All right. And you have to be willing to do that if you're going to be successful trading. So we need to understand, if we're going to be successful, we need to have a plan, number one. Number two, we got to be willing to follow it. But most important of anything, and what's going to keep you on track, is thinking more about mastery, getting better as a trader. And if you're going to get better as a trader, that means you're actually following the techniques that you're supposed to be following. You're not worrying about whether this specific trade is going to be a winner or not. All right. Hope I'm getting this across. When I watched Scotty Scheffler's interview after, it just really hit me. Like, if you want to be successful in anything in life, but certainly in the 2 hardest things, I think, are playing golf as a professional, and number 2 is trading, just making money as a trader. You have to understand this one concept: mastery versus ego. Get much better at focusing on the mastery side and just improving every day and doing all your prep work and following the process, and your results are going to show for themselves. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you next time.